Hello, everybody. All right, welcome to the Mikestand. Today is happy Halloween. First off, as today is Halloween. In fact, today is Halloween, so hopefully everybody's preparing for a safe Halloween this year. You know, um, make sure that if you do wear like some costumes that are like if you wear like monster guards or costumes that are a little bit darker, make sure to have at least some kind of reflectors on to make sure that cars can see you. Um, Kids, stay close to your parents. Don't wander off too far because you never know, fortunately. But anyways, with that being said, today is October 31st, 2025. So after today, we will be 5/6 of the way through 2025. Um, Hopefully, everybody had a good week this week as we head into November here. Of course, the year's wrapping up here. We got Veterans Day. Let's see, we got Election Day coming up in a number of states here in California. Of course, we have the Prop 50 vote. Um, in New Jersey and Virginia, they're voting for the governor. New York City, they're voting for the mayor. A lot going on there. The following week, of course, on the 11th is Veterans Day. Then we got Thanksgiving at the end of next month. So, granted, a whole lot of this stuff isn't as much, obviously anime, cartoon, comics, manga, pro wrestling related, just general stuff. And of course, don't forget, everybody except those I think in Arizona. Let's see, and outside the United States. This weekend, of course, you end up falling back. An hour. So I think that means we'll be getting an extra hour sleep that night. So, anyways, with that being said, welcome to the Mikestand. I hope everybody's has had a good week. So now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what's on tap for tonight. We'll get right into it. I got like 4 articles I'm going to go over. One from Bleeding Fool, and the other 3 from other 3 are from MeTV Tunes. Of course, we'll do even though a couple of those articles from MeTV Tunes that came out early, I just missed them. So, but they're both kind of revolving. So we're going to first start off with Shell Shocked, how writer Jason Aaron turned Turtles comics into a leftist op-ed. That's an Avi article, obviously. We got, as I said, a couple of Looney Tunes articles we'll go over from MeTV Tunes. One talking about some of the scariest Bugs Bunny cartoons out there, and then also Mel Blanc talks. We'll get some words of wisdom from the late great Mel Blanc from an interview he did in the past. And then also we'll wrap things up with the articles anyways, talking a little bit about Terry Tunes, a little guide to let everybody know all the characters. Now, most people, when you hear Terry Tunes, you hear Paul Terry, of course, most people usually will think Mighty Mouse and Heckle and Jekyll. Those are probably the main, you hear Terry Tunes, those are probably the ones, and some maybe even Farm Alfalfa. But they had a number of different characters there as MeTV Tunes prepares to start showing, Terry Tunes on Sundays. So we will get into that a bit as well. So, anyways, with all that being said, of course, and we'll of course get all caught up on all the latest wrestling news. Look back to last night's Ring of Honor show. Look ahead to tonight's SmackDown and tomorrow night's not only tomorrow night's Collision, of course, but also Saturday night's main event as well. as tonight's SmackDown will be the go home SmackDown before Saturday night's main event. We'll get you all caught up. Granted, they have 4 matches signed for Saturday night's main event already, so people are saying that chances are that's going to be it. They usually try to get about 5 matches, 5 or 6 matches, but with this being kind of more or less like a TV special, the commercials, all of that, they're gonna. Anyways, a friendly reminder before we get started, if you guys haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. With that being said, why don't we go ahead and get started on our material here for tonight. Let me pull up the... How did that happen? All right, well, that's kind of interesting. That's how those ended up being there. Unaware that those are still even there. Anyways, all right, so with that being said now, let's see. So here we go. Let's get ready to get into this first article here. There's obviously an Avi article. He's, as usual, he has quite a bit to say on the matter. So let's see what he's got to say on this one. Alrighty then. So here we go. Shell shocked: how writer Jason Aaron turned Turtles comics into a leftist op-ed. Article by Avi Green, published today, October 31st. All right, so let's see what Avi's got to say on this. So CBR is sugarcoating Jason Aaron's Ninja Turtles run at IDW, which is now reportedly ending. And it sounds from the following like he made sure to sneak some leftist rhetoric into the script before departing. The leftists can't seem to get over the fact that people don't want to hear their garbage, so they're just going to try to sneak stuff in, as they leave. All right. Jason Aaron and Juan Ferreira run on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came to a close this week, and it both nicely resolved their particular run while also setting up the book well for the incoming creative team, which was a nice treat to pull off. But it also marks a really impressive feat by Aaron in his 12 issues to both tell a strong overarching plot while still having each individual issue stand alone on its own, both as an individual issue, but also as an interesting commentary on modern society. Now, this is from the article, of course. This is not obvious. Avi was the first paragraph, but now we're getting the article. As noted, one of the things that is the most impressive in Aaron's run is how much each issue explored certain universal topics while also tying them all in into the theme of, talking turtles who fight crime using ninja weapons. I noted this in some of my past reviews of the series, particularly Leonardo's visit to the Ganges River to visit the turtles of the area, which brought up some interesting questions of what it means to be a turtle, quote unquote. When you walk and talk, in parentheses, and fight crime. Also, the bit in the second issue where Aaron cleverly explains how mastering the nunchucks means that Michelangelo inherently works on beating himself up constantly. Okay. While that is true, because training with nunchucks, learning how to catch them before they whack you. Anybody who's even teased the idea of I had a neighbor, when I was a kid, one of the other, kids in my neighborhood or whatever, they actually made their own set of nunchucks with some rope, with a rope to tie them together and all that, and even those, could hurt. Usually most nunchucks are made with like some kind of oak wood and chains, but that's the sort of sharp observations that Aaron has been doing in these comics. However, he has also done a good job exploring the very idea of modern day fascism, of what freedoms are people willing to surrender to feel quote unquote safe? Would you let the military invade your city to make you feel quote unquote safe? Well, what about the Foot Clan? Meanwhile, how easily can the public be swayed by disinformation? Oh boy. Yeah. You can tell this article, well, you tell that the article Avi is referencing here is definitely written by a leftist. Can you make the world turn on the turtles? These heroes who have done nothing but protect New York City. I made a post a while back about how Silver Age Superman and Marshall Dillon had a lot in common, as both of them were heroes who constantly saved their cities, and yet their cities would always turn on them at the slightest provocation. And we saw that happen in this story to the Turtles, as well as they were framed so well that they had to escape into New Jersey. And again, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream so we can get some more friendly people to engage. I'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the question to the best of my ability. All right, so let's see. Continuing on here. However, in a clever recent issue, from the perspective of the villainous district attorney Hale, in parentheses, who is working with the Foot Clan, we see how fairness sure looks like an attack when you're inherently unfair, like Hale. In addition, the people of New York City finally came through for the Turtles, and when the rats of New York City chipped in, Hale was able to be proven as a monster he really was. And the Turtles' names were all cleared. We have seen Hale be monstrous for so long, but at the end of the last issue, after he confronted Karai, the new head of the Foot Clan, she turned him from a figurative monster into a real one. And so now the subtext has become outright text. Now here's Avi's response to everything we just read there. I'm sure that District Attorney isn't an allusion to Alvin Bragg. For all we know, the Hale character could be an allusion to some of the more prominent legal staff in Donald Trump's government. Or even the Chief Justices he appointed, like Brett Kavanaugh. Okay, the Associate Justices, actually, so Avi needs to be corrected there. He did not appoint the Chief Justice. He appointed the Associate Justices of the Supreme Court. But I digress. And the Foot Clan's supposed to be a stand-in for the U.S. military. And the Foot Clan is supposed to be a stand-in for the USA military. As if the metaphors couldn't get twisted and insulting enough. Unfortunately, when these propagandists talk about modern quote-unquote fascism, you can't be shocked if what they really believe to be so is only right-wingers. The Ninja Turtles story in Focus was quite possibly written up as a last-minute attack on Trump's employment of military to arrest illegal immigrants, and in California, regrettably, said interlopers rioted violently and even attacked ICE offices. One can only wonder if Aaron believes anybody who reads his comics won't see them as disinformation. Well, I don't have to worry about that because I haven't read any of his stuff anyway. So, if Aaron stopped writing Ninja Turtles, that's good. But whoever's in charge of the franchise now has seen to it. They're destined to be one of the most damaged products for years to come, at least until they presumably become public domain later in the century. While we know it may make little difference what publisher acquires. Well, that's not entirely true because I've heard Mark Miller, who we talked about this article the other day. Of course, Mark Miller looking to, he's already got some stuff slated with the Superman title once it becomes public domain in 2034. So, whether current IDW or even Dark Horse and Image, what matters is that they're unlikely to produce Ninja Turtle comics devoid of political bias, subtle or otherwise, because the owners are unlikely to veto anything divisive in the name of quote-unquote creative freedom. They're unlikely to provide for a conservative-leaning writer. Maybe if Peter Laird or Kevin Eastman's estates could buy back the ownership, improvement could be made, but for now it's doubtful. So obviously, Avi has a right leaning spin on things, But anyway, so that's a serious article tonight. The next three we're gonna do are gonna be probably a little bit more puffy, a little more like lighthearted, maybe. Or at least, at the very least, more informational in terms of, not anything that's going to really grate on you, as it were. Anyway, so we're gonna head over now to BTV Tunes. To get that underway. Sorry about that. I goofed there. I forgot to switch over to the other I forgot which screen I was in at that moment. So, oopsie. Anyways, sometimes that stuff happens. All right, so let's actually get into next few articles here. These three from MeTV Tunes. And again, a friendly reminder to everybody, including those on my Rumble page, my Rumble and my YouTube page. If you guys haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, with that being said, let's get into this next article. So, your ultimate guide to the 6 scariest Bugs Bunny tunes. You'll need your lucky rabbit's foot to make it out in one piece. This article in particular was published on August 29th, so a couple of days ago, by MeTV Toon staff. So, all right, so let's look at that. There's Dracula trying to get his teeth into Bugs there. There's a vampire. So, Bugs Bunny is nearly unflappable. Nearly. It's rare that the bunny with the gift of gab is left tongue-tied. But it does happen on occasion. Every once in a while, there emerges a foe so formidable, even Bug gets a little bit spooked. Whereas the likes of Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam rarely amount to more than pest. Sometimes there's a bad guy that scares our heroic hair. Heroic hair. Nice little alliteration there. Let's take a look at some great examples in these 6 scary, in quotes, tunes. We put quote unquote scary in quotes because we're not really scared, okay? Stop asking us that. Why would anybody be afraid of a cartoon? Even if that witch is honestly pretty scary. All right, fine. We're scared of Witch Hazel. Just leave us alone about it. And who enjoy the list, Doc? Witch Hazel, of course, who's voiced by the late great June Foray, who also voiced Granny in many of the Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies cartoons. All right, so Broomstick Bunny. Oh, God. She's so green and creepy. This is a historical Looney Tunes because it marks the first voice role for June Foray in a project for Warner Brothers. You want to talk scary, quote unquote. June Foray was also the voice of Talkie Tina on The Twilight Zone. Director Chuck Jones was a big fan. Quote, June Foray is not the female Mel Blanc, unquote, he told Animation World magazine. Quote, Mel Blanc was the male June Foray. Now, granted, for many years, throughout the 40s and 50s, Mel Blanc and June Foray were basically the two stalwarts of the company. Mel Blanc would often be doing most of the male characters, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, Foghorn Leghorn, you name it. And June Foray was primarily known for doing Granny. She'd do a few others as well. Granny, Witch Hazel here. So, number 2. Let's see. Number 2, water every hair. This 52 Chuck Jones short from 1952, mind you, is a callback of sorts to a cartoon from 6 years earlier, 1946. 1946, Jones introduced Gossamer, that villainous thing, that's all fur tennis shoes, and a bad attitude. A great flood washes Bugs out of his rabbit hole and straight into the lair of the evil scientist. We can't help but feel like the mad doctor bears a passing resemblance to Boris Karloff, who we kind of talked about the other day as well. Um, um, Number 3, falling hair. So this guy's ruining the war for all of us. MASH references aside, we'd like to pose the question, what do Bugs Bunny and William Shatner have in common, in parentheses, other than distinctive line deliveries, parentheses there. They both spot a menace out on a plane. This wartime worry sees Bugs thwarting a gremlin in a tune that predates the theatrical release Gremlins by 4 decades. That could be 40s there. Of course, what they're referring to with the William Shatner seeing, danger out of a plane, that was actually from more of a Twilight episode that he, I believe, was in. That was before his role on Star Trek. All right. Number 4, Transylvania 65000, in parentheses there. There's number 4 here. Have you ever taken a wrong turn in Albuquerque and end up in Pittsburgh, quote unquote, Pittsburgh, Transylvania? Tell you what, Doc, it's a pain in the neck. Oh, puns galore. That's because that locale is home to one persistent vampire. Lucky for us, Bugs Bunny knows his way around an incantation or two. Let us know on social media if you know all the Glenn Miller songs this title parodies. Number 5, hide and hair. End quote here. Our first Fritz Frayling directed entry on the list is based on the Robert Louis Stevenson story, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You can then, of course, predict the course of the events when Bugs befriends the genial Jekyll. Spoiler alert, Dr. Jekyll isn't entirely who he seems, because he's also Mr. Hyde, obviously. Number 6. Oh, here we'll go with Gossamer again. Hair-raising hair. Here it is, the original 1946 short that launched a million nightmares. Or is it just us? Gossamer debuts, and he's all there from the start. Minimal design and everything. This time, though, it's a Peter Lorre looking mad scientist who ensnares our heroic hair. All it takes to beguile Bugs is a lady bunny bot. Who knew? Watch Bugs Bunny and Friends on MeTV Tunes weekdays at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 6 a.m. Pacific, and 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 p.m. Pacific. Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific, and Sundays at 12 noon Eastern, 11 Central, 9 a.m. Pacific. Alrighty then. There we go with the first story there. I said we had actually a couple of Looney Tunes stories to go over. So that was the first one. Here's the other one featuring Mel Blanc. This article is featuring Mel Blanc here. I'll see what this is all about here. Quote, I don't copy anybody, unquote, said Mel Blanc. Quote, I like to create whatever voice I do, unquote. When the voice actor felt empty, Bugs filled in the blank. Pun, pun, pun. Article published on October 29th, a couple days ago, by MeTV News staff. So they got Bugs and Daffy right there. In 1976, Mel Blanc was in the middle of a popular college tour. By that point, the demand for new characters had subsided, as he has had the demand for new adventures of his established roles. Sure, Bugs Bunny appeared in a few animated specials, but they were infrequent. A lot of Looney Tunes output in the late 1970s amounted to releases of already recorded material. Basically, this is a time when, of course, a lot of the stuff was being packaged in syndicated, syndication packets, being sent out to various stations, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck Hour, all that, on with the show. This is it on Saturday morning. So, which were again rehashes of the original shorts, article shorts. So Mel Blanc was free to give plenty of interviews regarding his job. Quote, I love my characters, unquote, Blanc told the Greensboro Daily News, adding that co-workers often took pictures as his appearance changed as he switched from one to the next. Well, lots of voice actors are also skilled impressionists, which we found out, of course, Blanc being Blanc being probably considered the greatest voice, but, a lot of people they're talking about are like Dawes Butler came from that background, I believe. Like May Quetzal, maybe, a few others. Blanc never recycled someone else's shtick for his 400 plus voices. Quote, I don't copy anybody, unquote, he said. Quote, I like to create whatever voice I do, unquote. Blanc knew the power of his characters and their unique ability to brighten a day and bring a smile. Quote, this is the thing I like to do. I like to spread it around, unquote. He spent as much time as he could at hospitals, bringing joy to folks who needed it. Oh, that's pretty good. This was a direct result of the time Blanc himself been in a hospital, recuperating from a terrible auto accident. Nothing seemed to work in attempts to wake Blanc up from a 21-day coma. Nothing, that is, except for Bugs Bunny. Quote, surgeon came in finally and said, Bugs Bunny, how are you? Unquote. Blanc recalled, quote, I really did say, just fine, Doc. How are you? Unquote. Bugs Bunny brought Mel Blanc back to life, just as Blanc had brought laughter to millions of fans. Wow. Wow. That's interesting. Quote, Quote, I realized that how people love the characters, unquote, said Blank. In all, he was sent more than 20,000 fan letters wishing him a speedy recovery, unquote. And we already read all that in the previous article as well, so I won't read it again. Yeah, that was a pretty quickie there. Let's see. So we're making good time then. All right, so one more article to go before we wrap that portion of the show up and move on to the wrestling wrap up. The MeTV Toons Guide to the Characters of Terry Toons. It's time to meet Mighty Mouse's friends. Article published today by MeTV Toons. Now, mind you, of course, we talked about this the other day. They had announced that they're going to be bringing the Terry Toons cartoons to MeTV Toons, Mighty Mouse and Friends, starting, of course, this Sunday, November 2nd, at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific. 3 Eastern, 2 Central, 12 Pacific. So, anyways, let's see what they have to say on this. All right, so here they come to save Sundays. Our new show, Mighty Mouse and Friends, is a celebration of all things Terry Toons. But before you tune in, here's a refresher on all the classic characters you will see on the show. Number 1, the Terry Bears with the little halos over their heads. The Terry Bears. The Terry Bears are two precocious brother bears who debuted in Tall Timber Tale, quote unquote, in 1951. Their adventures included playing tricks on their father, Papa Bear, and playing with their dog. So two little cute little cubs, just messing around. Number 2, Heckle and Jekyll. Wanted dead or alive. Heckle and Jekyll are a pair of troublemaking magpies. They are pretty hard to tell apart. But Heckle is the one with the New York accent, and Jekyll is the one with the English accent. Their first cartoon was the Talking Magpies, quote unquote, in 1946, which of course featured another Terry Toons character, Farmer Alfalfa, who of course predates Heckle and Jekyll and Mighty Mouse. He predates Heckle and Jekyll by 30 years and Mighty Mouse by like 25 years. See, as Farm Alfalfa started with Bray Studios in 1915 during the silent film era. And then they just continued with many incarnations. Number 3, Strongman. Strongman is a member of the Mighty Heroes, a superhero cartoon that aired as part of the Mickey Mouse Playhouse from 1966 to 1967. Normally, he's a country-accented mechanic named Gomer Steed. Gomer, like Gomer Pyle, I guess. Gomer Steed. But when fireworks summon the Mighty Heroes, he becomes Strongman. His superpowers include super strength and flight, and his go-to move is the jet-propelled blow, quote unquote, where he flies into a villain fist first. Yeah, that was right. Number 4, Tornado Man. By day, He's a television weatherman named Dusty Storm. Dusty Storm. Very interesting name for a weatherman, right? Dusty Storm. Excuse me a moment, folks. I need to go off camera here for a quick moment. I'll be right back. But what I will do is I'll put some music on for you guys while I'm gone. Alright, I'm back here. So let's get back to the article, of course. And again, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream so we can get some more friendly people to engage. I'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. And I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So with that being said, here we go. But when the mighty heroes are called to action, he becomes Tornado Man. His superpower is turning into a tornado and using his vortex to throw villains into a wall. Well, kind of similar to the Flash, right? Number 5, Cuckoo Man. Cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. Bird shop owner Mortimer Moore becomes Cuckoo Man by jumping inside a cuckoo clock. What's wilder is that the other mighty heroes can fly with no effort. But Cuckoo Man genuinely struggles at flying and has to flap his arms. Cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. All right, so number 6, Rope Man. It sounds like this guy has some fun. Rope Man. Chap Goodley, a British sailor who works on the docks, joins the mighty heroes as Rope Man, the superhero whose entire body is made of rope. He must be a fun guest to have at parties. Let's see. He turns his hands into lassos and nets, but he also gets tangled up in the knots. Now, as I understand, I think Mighty Heroes, I mean, you can even tell by the animation here, the Mighty Heroes, it seems to be more of a superhero parody than anything else. Such names as Rope Man and Cuckoo Man. Right. Let's see. Number 7, Diaper Man. Oh, Diaper Man. Oh, boy. Wonder what his superpowers are. Inspired by Popeye, Diaper Man is a baby who gets super strong by drinking his bottle. Okay. Which he also uses as a slingshot or projectile when needed. Okay. Yeah, and I'm sure he he delivers a few stink bombs in there too, if you get what I mean. Oh boy, Diaper Man. Number 8, Pearl Pureheart. Pearl Pureheart is a damsel in distress whom Mighty Mouse must save. She first appeared in A Fight to the Finish when Oil Can Harry. Oil Can Harry. This is a character who's been. Oil Can Harry is actually a character who originated back in the 30s in the and kind of the Betty Boop in the Terry Toons Betty Boop knockoff Fanny Zilch. Oil Can Harry kind of was the Snidely Whiplash type villain of that time. Kidnapped her and tried to force her into marriage, but unlike most damsels, Pearl is always fighting back and often escaping on her own when Mighty Mouse finally arrives. Here I come to save the day. Number 9, Oil Can Harry. Mighty Mouse fights many criminals, but none are such nefarious, mustache-twisting villains like Oil Can Harry. He originally appeared in earlier black and white Terry Toons and was repurposed as a villain for Mighty Mouse. Basically he was anthropomorphized here. His look is more generally the same there in terms of his attire and his overall build. The only difference here is that he's more of where in those earlier black and white cartoons we were talking about, the Fanny Zilch cartoon, he was human, right? He was a human being. Here he's kind of more like a mouse or a wolf or what have you. Again, much in the Snidely Whiplash vein there. Number 10, Mighty Mouse. Here he comes to save the day. Mighty Mouse was originally just a regular mouse until one fateful day at the supermarket when he drank super soup, chopped super celery, took a bath with super soap, and ate super cheese, transforming him into the day-saving, opera-singing Mighty Mouse. Now, as you see there, originally his costume was red and blue, much like Superman from DC Comics and Fleischer Studios. Eventually, they did change it to yellow and red from blue and red. So watch Mighty Mouse and Friends on MeTV Toons, coming November 2nd. All right. There we go. Let's get a look at what time it is right now. Hey there, Rex. Thanks for popping in. Hope you're enjoying the show here. Went over some interesting cartoon articles as well as, of course, a look at what Jason Aaron did to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles during his writing career as well to them. So now we're done with the articles, of course, for the evening. What we're going to do now is we're going to move on to the wrestling wrap-up. So, of course, we got some stuff, we'll go over some stuff happened on last night's Ring of Honor. Look ahead to tonight's go-home episode of SmackDown before tomorrow night's Saturday night's main event. We'll get a final rundown of that card and look ahead also to what AEW will be doing on Collision tomorrow night. So without no further ado, let's go ahead and get ready to talk about all that. So again, first off, going back to last night's Ring of Honor show. Let's go and see what we have there. Last night's Ring of Honor on Honor Club came from Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida, with, of course, Caprice Coleman, Ian Riccaboni on commentary, Don Callis at some point joining them as well. Opening match saw a six-man tag team match in which Dalton Castle teamed with the Outrunners, Turbo Floyd and Tooth Magnum, to defeat the team of Logan Cruz, Leroy Shogun, and Tyshawn Perez. Then Billy Starks defeated Aaliyah James in one-on-one in just under 7 minutes. Don Callis family members of Lance Archer and Rocky Romero, with Trent Beretta in their corner, defeated Aaron Solo and QT Marshall in a proving ground match for the Ring of Honor Pure title. Lee Moriarty staved off the challenge of Alex Zane to prevent him from earning a shot at the Pure title. In a mixed six-person tag match, the premier athletes of Aria Davari, Story Denali, and Tony Nese, with Mark Sterling in their corner, defeated the grizzled young veterans of James Drake and Zach Gibson and Isla Dawn. In the main event, former Ring of Honor television champion Commander and CML All-Star Masco Dorada, with Alex Abrahantes in their corner, defeated the tag team of the Swirl of Blake Christian and Lee Johnson. That happened on last night's Ring of Honor Honor Club. So now we will get ready to go ahead and look ahead to tonight's SmackDown, as it'll be the last chance for WWE to build up for tomorrow night's main event, Saturday night's main event. All right, so tonight's SmackDown, as soon as I grab that. Tonight's SmackDown comes from the Delta Center in Salt Lake City, Utah, on the USA Network. The matches announced for tonight include Carmelo Hayes taking on Kit Wilson, and one half of the women's tag team champion Alexa Bliss taking on Nia Jax. There'll probably be more in terms of the build towards tomorrow night's Saturday night's main event. As for that, as we will now go ahead and take a look to that tomorrow night's Saturday night's main event. Let's see. Tomorrow night, Saturday night's main event, which will also be happening from the Delta Center in Salt Lake City on Peacock. So still only 4 matches are signed for that show, including WWE Women's Title match, as Tiffany Stratton is set to defend that title against Jade Cargill, who recently turned heel. In a triple threat match for the Intercontinental title, Dominic Mysterio defends the title against Penta and Rusev. In a match for the undisputed WWE title, Cody Rhodes defends against Drew McIntyre. And in a match to crown a new World Heavyweight Champion after Seth Rollins had to vacate it due to injury, CM Punk is set to take on Jey Uso in that affair. So now, of course, I'll have all those results on Monday, of course. And finally, looking ahead also to tomorrow night's Collision. On tomorrow night's Collision from the Burt Ogden Center in Edinburgh, in Edinburgh, Texas, with Tony Schiavone and Nigel McGuinness on commentary. Chris Statlander at one point getting Chris Statlander will also be on commentary at one point there. Well, the opening match will see the team of Miranda Lees and Nixon Newell taking on the team of Megan Bain and Marina Shafir in a six-man tag match. The Bang Bang Gang of Ace Austin, because Ace Austin has joined the Bang Bang Gang, which I guess kind of makes sense considering he was part of the Bullet Club. Ace Austin, Austin Gunn, and Juice Robinson take on M&M TV of Johnny TV, Mansour, and Mason Madden. In a tag team match, former tag team champions, formerly known as the Acclaimed, Anthony Bowens and Max Caster will be teaming up to take on the Don Callis family members of AEW Unified Champion Kazuchika Okada and IWGP World Champion Konosuke Takeshita. In a match for the CMLL Women's World Title, Mercedes Moné, a 12-belt Moné, will be defending the title, defending the CMLL World Women's Title against Olympia CMLL. And another six-man tag match, Commander teams with Mark Briscoe and Roderick Strong, take on La Facción Ingobernables of Beast Mortos, Balistico, and Sammy Guevara. The main event we'll see in a match for the Ring of Honor World Title, Bandito will be defending the title against Máscara Dorada. So that's all we got for the wrestling wrap-up for you guys, and we'll of course have the results of tomorrow's events on Monday. So now, with that being said, with today being Halloween, Friday, October 31st, 2025, let's take a look back at this date in Nietzsche history. So, 2020 and 2015. All right. So first off, I'm going to head back 24 years ago, and on this date, 24 years ago, back in 2001. So let's pull that up. On this date in the year 2001, date 2001, the 125th issue, Betty and Veronica Digest magazine, went on sale on this date back in 2001. It sold for $2.19, was $96 from Archie Comics. So on this date, back in 2001, 24 years ago today, the 125th issue of Archie Comics, Betty and Veronica Digest magazine, went on sale on this date back in 2001. All right, now moving ahead, figure this out here. Moving ahead to the year 2005, 20 years ago today. 20 years ago today, back in the year 2005, which was 20 years ago today, WWE held its Monday Night Raw event from the Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim, California. And on that show, the main event of that show saw John Cena and Shawn Michaels go to a no contest. In a Texas Tornado tag team match, Kane and the Big Show defeated the Heartthrobs of Antonio and Romeo. Triple H defeated Viscera in 15 seconds. Eugene defeated Rob Conway by DQ, and the show opened up with Kurt Angle defeating Tajiri. So 20 years ago today, WWE held its Monday Night Raw event from the Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim, California. Moving on to the next piece of niche history, we move ahead to the year 2015. On this date in the year 2015, Sunrise has OVA Mobile Suit Gundam: The Origin to Artesia's Sorrow was released on this date back in the year 2015, so 10 years ago today. Sunrise's OVA Mobile Suit Gundam: The Origin Artesia's Sorrow was released on this date 10 years ago. And finally, 5 years ago, as soon as I bring that up, 5 years ago in the year 2020, on this day in the year 2020, five years ago, premiering on YouTube, Spindle Horse's Hell of a Boss premiered on YouTube on this date back in 2020. Hell of a Boss is an American adult animated musical black comedy web series created by Vivian Vizipop Medrano. It revolves around the misadventures of the employees of IMP, a company in hell that offers human hitman services in the realm of the living. The pilot was released on November 25th, 2019, before the series premiered on October 31st, 2020. Set in the same fictional universe as Has Been Hotel, the show is produced by Spindle Horse. The first season was released exclusively on Medrano's YouTube channel. Second season premiered on July 30th, 2022. All right, so there you go. There we go with that. So with that, I do thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Of course, we'll be back here on Sunday as I'll be joined by Rick Piper, as we will be taking another trip down Comics History Lane. We'll be continuing our look back to comics going on sale in July of 1940. This Sunday, focusing in on Marvel, what was known then as Timely Comic, what we know now as Marvel. Most notably, I think we'll be looking at Marvel Mystery Comics number 11. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight, and I hope to see everybody back here on Sunday. Bye.